A mother's justice. The courtroom was eerily silent, the kind of quiet that presses against your chest. I sat behind the judge's bench, my black robes heavy with 25 years of authority, staring at the woman who had just demanded my daughter's death. Linda Harper, president of our neighborhood's homeowners association, stood defiant, her manicured hands gripping the table. She had no idea the girl she called a walking biohazard was my Sophie, fighting cancer at just 17. Linda thought she was untouchable, but she was about to face a reckoning she never saw coming. Our story began 6 months earlier when Sophie, pale and frail from chemotherapy, whispered a heartbreaking request. "Mom, can we move somewhere new? Somewhere I can feel like a person again." Her voice cracked, barely audible over the hum of her oxygen machine. We lived in our old colonial in Richmond, Virginia, for years, but every room held ghosts of Sophie's healthier days, her soccer trophies, her veterinary school dreams. Cancer had stolen so much, leaving her bald, weak, and tethered to medical equipment. So, we packed up and moved to Greenhaven Estates, a pristine suburb with manicured lawns and quiet cul-de-sacs, hoping for a fresh start. Our new home was a 2-story brick house with ivy climbing the walls. Sophie's room overlooked a maple tree where cardinals nested. We set up her hospital bed, for stands, and breathing machine, turning the space into a sanctuary. "This is perfect, Mom," Sophie said, her first smile in weeks flickering as she watched a bird from her window. "I thought we'd found peace. I was wrong." The trouble started the first morning. At 6:45 a.m., the doorbell chimed, startling Sophie from her fragile sleep. A woman stood on our porch, her blonde bob flawless, her smile as polished as her pearls. "I'm Linda Harper, Greenhaven HOA president," she said, thrusting a binder of rules at me. "We have standards here." Her eyes darted past me, landing on Sophie's equipment visible in the living room. The smile vanished. "What's all this?" "Medical machinery." "This is for my daughter, Sophie," I said. "She's recovering from cancer treatment." Linda's lips pursed. "Cancer? In Greenhaven?" She stepped closer, peering inside. "This violates at least 10 HOA covenants. Sick people need permits for equipment like that." Before I could respond, Sophie shuffled into view, her purple cap askew, her pajamas swallowing her thin frame. Linda recoiled. "Is she contagious?" "Cancer isn't contagious," I said, my voice tight. "Sophie's not a danger to anyone." "That's what you say," Linda snapped. "I've read about chemotherapy toxins. They seep into the soil, the air. This is a family neighborhood, not a hospice." She stormed off, leaving Sophie trembling. "Mom, does she hate me already?" my daughter whispered, tears welling. I hugged her, promising it was just one cruel woman. But Linda was only getting started. Her harassment was relentless. When a delivery van brought Sophie's oxygen tanks, Linda sprinted across the street, screaming about unauthorized vehicles. She complained about the nurses' cars, claiming they tracked germs. She even called Sophie's window side reading an eyesore that ruined the neighborhood's aesthetic. Sophie tried to appease her, asking nurses to park blocks away and lowering her machine's hum at night. "Maybe if I'm invisible, she'll stop," Sophie said, her voice small. But nothing worked. 3 weeks in, Linda called a community safety meeting at the Greenhaven clubhouse. Sophie insisted on attending. "If I explain, maybe they'll see I'm not a threat," she said. Against my better judgment, I helped her into her wheelchair, her purple cap bright against her pale skin. The room buzzed with neighbors as Linda took the stage, clicking through a slideshow. A photo of Sophie on our porch, hooked to her fore, flashed on the screen. "This is a health crisis," Linda declared. "Cancer patients bring medical waste, toxic chemicals, and disease." "That's a lie," I shouted. "Sophie's treatments are safe." Linda smirked. "Studies show cancer patients raise cancer risks by 50% within 2 blocks. Our property values are tanking because of one sick family." The data was fabricated, but murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Sophie raised a shaky hand. "I'm Sophie Larson. I didn't choose cancer. It chose me. My equipment keeps me alive. I just want to live quietly and heal." Linda cut her off. "This isn't about you. It's about our community's health. You belong in a hospital, not here." The room fell silent as Sophie sank lower in her chair. Linda pushed for a vote. Should Sophie stay or go? 25 hands shot up to evict her. Only 10 supported us. Sophie sobbed all the way home, her spirit crumbling. Why do they hate me for being sick? She asked. That night, her fever spiked, landing her in the ER. Linda's attacks intensified. She organized health patrols to photograph our house, filed false complaints about explosive oxygen tanks, and even reported us to CPS for endangering Sophie. Each baseless investigation drained us, but Sophie suffered most. Her white blood cell count plummeted. She stopped eating, her weight dropping dangerously. One morning, she looked at me with hollow eyes. Mom, I can't fight cancer and Linda at the same time. Maybe I should give up. Those words broke me. Linda wasn't just cruel, she was killing my daughter's will to live. I wasn't just Sophie's mom, Ellen Larson. At work, I was Judge Catherine Reed, a federal judge with 25 years on the bench. I kept my lives separate, using my maiden name at home to shield my family. But Linda had crossed a line, and she was about to face consequences. When her HOA filed a lawsuit to force Sophie into a medical isolation facility, I knew it would land in federal court over civil rights violations. By Friday, the case was assigned to my courtroom. Linda had sued my dying daughter in my court, oblivious to the storm coming. The hearing was on Tuesday, a gray, chilly morning. Sophie, frail in her wheelchair, oxygen tubes in her nose, looked terrified beside my husband, Mark. Linda strutted in, confident in her tailored suit, whispering to her lawyer. I took my seat, robes heavy, heart pounding. Case 2025, CV, 1123, Greenhaven HOA versus Larson, my clerk announced. Linda's lawyer began, labeling Sophie a public health emergency. But Linda couldn't resist. She leapt up, voice shrill. Your Honor, this family's turned our neighborhood into a hospital. That girl's a walking biohazard. Sophie flinched, tears spilling. I gripped my gavel, forcing calm. Ms. Harper, let your lawyer speak. No, Linda shouted. Cancer patients leak toxins. They spread disease. She's bald, dying, and traumatizing our children. If I were a judge, I'd lock her away or worse. Give her the death penalty to protect us. The courtroom froze. Even her lawyer blanched. I stood, my voice low and lethal. Ms. Harper, did you just demand the death penalty for my daughter? Linda blinked, confused. Your daughter? Sophie Larson is my daughter, I said, shedding my judicial mask. I am Judge Catherine Reed. You just called for my child's death in my courtroom. Gasps echoed. Mark's jaw dropped. Sophie stared, tears streaming, ashamed I'd heard Linda's venom. Linda stammered. You're biased. This isn't fair. You're right, I said. I'm recusing myself. Judge Thompson will take over. But first, Ms. Harper, hear this. In 25 years, I've sentenced murderers and traffickers, but your cruelty surpasses them all. Sophie has fought cancer with unmatched bravery, surgeries, chemo, radiation, while you terrorized her for daring to exist. You spread lies that endanger all sick people. You demanded a teenager's death for being ill. Your soul is the only diseased thing here. I struck my gavel, stepping down. As Ellen, not Judge Reed, I knelt by Sophie's wheelchair. She collapsed into my arms, sobbing. Mom, am I dangerous? She whispered. No, sweetheart, I said. You're a hero. Mark joined us, his voice thick. Sophie, you fought so hard. Don't let her win. Sophie wheeled to face Linda, her voice steady despite tears. Ms. Harper, I didn't choose cancer. It stole my hair, my strength, my childhood. I moved here for peace, tried to shrink myself to please you. But today, you showed me true evil, wanting a sick girl dead. I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I won't let your hate destroy me. Linda crumpled, sobbing as her lawyer ushered her out. We sat in the empty courtroom, Sophie's hand in mine. Mom, she said, I'm not ashamed anymore. I deserve to live. In that moment, Linda's cruelty had forged something unbreakable in Sophia, fierce, radiant strength. 6 months later, Sophie was in remission, her smile brighter than ever. Linda faced federal charges for disability discrimination, was ousted from the HOA, and paid hefty fines. Greenhaven elected new leaders who launched a support network for families facing illness, with meal trains and carpools. But Sophie's transformation was the true victory. She started a teen cancer support group, spoke at hospitals, and raised funds for research. Her pain became purpose, her courage a beacon. Linda thought she'd break Sophie. Instead, She unleashed a survivor who'd spend her life lifting others. Sophie taught us that every life has worth, and love will always outshine hate. What do you think about Linda's actions and the injustices Sophie faced? Share your thoughts in the comments. How do you view cruelty and fairness in our world? Take a stand and let's discuss.